Welcome to another episode of the Strategic Tech Coaching Podcast, and it's a pleasure to talk with Thomas Erikson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So first, I'd like to ask the listeners, if you pretend you're in an elevator in Dubai, a tall building, I'm standing next to you, and there's a third guy in the elevator, and that guy asks Thomas, what do you do? Well, what would you tell him?
Oh, that's a good question. I would tell him my profession is decreasing the number of stupid conflicts in our daily life.
Okay, and I'm in the lift as well, so I would add that Thomas is a successful author that has sold more than 3 million books, I believe, or more than that maybe, with all your different books. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about your different books, and one book is now selling all over the world and very popular in Dubai as well. But yeah, before we get to your books, maybe share a little bit, what's your background? Like, you were not a author your whole life, so where did it start for Thomas?
Well, actually, when it comes to the author part, I'm an ex-banker, to be honest. I'm an economist. I'm one of these guys who had been dreaming about writing books since a very early age. And I actually published 6 thrillers also before I published Surrounded by Idiots. So that was the background behind that. And I wrote about this management consultant helping the police in Sweden by using a certain kind of system based on 4 colors, red, yellow, green, and blue. And people emailed me and said, that's an interesting story. I like the story. Yes, okay. But the tool the guy in the books is using, where can we learn more about that? And I had to say, well, I don't know. I have no clue. And after, 300 of those questions, I said to myself, maybe I should put together this book myself. And then I wrote Surrounded by Idiots.
Yeah,
that's the true story, actually. It's a bit longer than this, but basically that is what happened.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and one summer I came back to Sweden, maybe 3-4 years ago, and I felt that summer everyone was talking about colors. We were having lunch, and I'm green, I'm red, I'm yellow. I'm like, and I realized, yeah, I've actually done this test. So what happened? Like, it became a bestseller in Sweden. What's the story behind that?
Well, one common question I get is, why are people so interested in behaviors and efficient communication now? But I don't think that's the right question. I think people has always been interested in why we communicate, and some people we can understand, some people we cannot understand. And I mean, the fascination with human behavior has always been there. I mean, the book Surrounded by Idiots describes the DISC profile, and that's old common knowledge for consultants as myself, and management teams for decades back in history. But for the public, it was new. It was a new way to describe and put words to things that people felt all along but couldn't describe, basically. Instead of saying, well, this guy is a bit aggressive, a little bit bullish, and he's so quick and very decisive. Now you can say, well, he's red. Then you have it. And people like simplified explanations, I think, because the book is a simplification, of course. I started the book by saying that also. So.
Yeah. For those listeners that are not aware of the disc or whatever it's called, the different colors, a short explanation. How does it work with these 4 different colors?
Well, the DISC method I think it's 4 or 5 decades old and still under development, but it measures introversion, extroversion, task orientation, and people orientation. And then you get this 2x2 matrix where you can divide certain behaviors in, well, let's call it boxes then. It does only describe behaviors. It has nothing to do with personalities. Personality traits are more complex, and then you have to dig a little bit deeper. But the DISC profile describes what you can see and what you can hear when you interact with another person. The colors is just a pedagogical way to make you remember it. Instead of saying, well, it's an high D over an I with a low C, you can say it's a red and yellow behavior, and then you have it. That's one of the simplifications that I think people actually like a lot about it.
Yeah. So yeah, this, I think with the discussions I had over lunch, when I was home in Sweden those 2-3 years ago, was exactly that it's quite easy to find the colors in different people. Like, oh, my boss is so red, and we all know what I meant, so it's a nice way of putting it like that. If you look at celebrities, like known people around the world, like, do you have any examples of, like, I would assume like Putin, he's maybe blue and red, and maybe Trump is red and yellow. Or do you have any? That would be my guess, but I'm not sure. Do you have any celebrities examples for the listeners to
Well,
understand?
when it comes to Vladimir Putin, I would say mostly red.
Yeah.
When it comes to, I don't know, Mr. Trump, so many things has been said. I don't think I can add anything new there. If we use the disc system, I would probably call him red, but I think that doesn't paint the whole picture, so to speak. Something else to add there as well. Yeah. If you take somebody like, let's say, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I would say red and yellow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this all smiling, the big laughter all the time, for instance. If you take somebody like Bill Gates, blue, you know, a little bit stiff, extremely controlled, you know, good with details. Well, he built something quite big, right? Long term, and you can go all over the scale. Some people are more easy to put a color on than other people, and it's just the way it is. I mean, it tells you something. If you observe somebody, it's a bit difficult to analyze a public person because they are always standing on stage, so to speak. If you should analyze me, it would be a bit of a problem for you, because when my wife could do it, because when I am at home, I am basically Thomas. So people have a trouble analyzing me because I can be any color. If you take an actor, he's acting all the time on screen. So you have to meet him, you know, in person and have a conversation with him or her, of course. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I know your color. Yeah. I know your colors because you mentioned them in one of your books, so I know what colors you are, and it's difficult. So, so just to summarize for the listeners, red is the more red, yellow.
Red is the dominant part. You know, bam, action-oriented, goal focused, results, bam, speed it up. We're in a hurry, you know. Well, we are not in a hurry, but we could speed things up because life is short, you know, bam, dominant kind of person. The yellow is more positive, you know, also action-oriented, but people focused at the same time. So happy, smiling, really creative, you know. See opportunities where other people see problems and difficulties. Well, you know, the sun is always shining, and even though you say, well, the sun, now it's raining, yeah, but the sun is always shining somewhere. You know, they are like this. If you go to the introvert side, you will find the green person striving for stability, more calm, more lean back, more both, let's say, caring and sharing, really good listeners, don't like to be in the center of things, like to be a little bit to the side, observing. And then the other introvert profile you have is the blue one, the analyst, the compliant person who is more the engineer type or the accountant, you know, striving for checking details and following the regulations and always keeping the speed limit because that is the right way to do things. You know, and they never speak until they have something important to say, according to themselves. A little bit stiff, like stone face, like this.
Yeah. So in the book, you said that about 80% are two colors, 15% are three colors, and 5% are one color. And from what I understand, you are three colors: red, yellow, and blue.
That is true, or rather red, blue, and yellow. No green at all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So today you can lift your yellow side today, yeah?
I'm trying, as you see.
I don't want your blue side.
You don't? Oh, you're not blue then.
That is my next question, actually. What colors would you guess I am?
I would say some combination. Well, I have only talked to you for, 3 or 4 minutes. I would say that you're a combination of red and yellow, or maybe yellow and red. I don't know for sure. Yeah. Probably mostly yellow. It would be my guess.
Yeah. My strongest is actually green and yellow. So I'm green yellow.
Green and yellow.
Yeah, okay. And those are the same. And then blue is 46. So I don't know if it needs to be above 50 for it to be strong, but so I have some blue in me. But
we can go into the details about those things. That's more about how the method works, how the assessment tool works. We don't bother with that. I mean, okay, anybody can act out any color if he chooses to do so. Even a green person can act like a red person and the other way around. But in general, as you said, most people show a combination of two colors. No people in the analysis assessment tool get 4 colors equally high. Well, that's technical stuff, you know. A blue person can be funny, and a yellow person can check the fuses really detailed manner in his house. Otherwise, it's going to burn to the ground. But in general, when you are yourself, you are usually a combination of 2 or maybe 3 colors. And some people are only 1 color, showing 1 color. My wife, for instance, she's only red.
Wow.
Some people are easier to grasp than others. That's just the way it is.
Okay.
But she has really high, strong self-awareness, so she knows.
Okay.
This, which means that she can hold back when needed. That's not her self-insight is really high. So,
but when you have 2 colors or 3 colors, does that mean that, like, in some situations you're yellow, in some situations you're green, or like you're a combination of them? Do you see what I mean? Like, are you blue some days when you work with your books, and you're more red when you, or how does it work?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, let's say in my case, I can choose between any color because I've trained myself for 2 decades something. I can, even though I have only 2% green, I can act like a green person, no problem. For a while, then I will go back to me, if you know what I mean. So for me, I can act red or yellow or maybe blue when it comes to certain things. When I write a book, I am probably a combination of yellow, which is the creative part, and blue, which is nailing myself to the chair, so to speak. And the red part I had to put away because that's the impatient one. The impatient Thomas is the red one who thinks, you know, hey, get on with it. You know, are we still doing this? But usually you're. I mean, let's say you take let's say red and yellow as a combination. It usually comes out as a sort of a hybrid manner, not dominant like this, and not always joking like this, but you know, striving forward in a more let's say a bit calmer than the red one, and not so much smiling as the yellow one. It's more of an orange, if that's okay. So you get sort of a balance, and when you train yourself using this and looking for the colors, you will see these things. I can see that person is somewhat reddish, but still a lot of yellow, so it's probably a combination. So it's not extreme in any way, but probably sort of, well, let's call it the hybrid behavior then.
Okay. So in relationships, you said that your wife is only red, and you are those 3 colors. So how does it turn out? That it's good to be in the same color in the relationship, or is it better to be a little bit different?
That's a good question. Should you be the same color? That's a rather common question I get, actually. And the thing is, I'm not sure what the answer is. I think you should be similar to each other. Otherwise, you're gonna, you know, we say opposites attract. If you come from this side and then you come from this side, then you will meet in the middle and you say, wow, this person have some personality traits I really admire and respect. I would like to have them myself. It's easy to understand that you're going to meet like this, but then you have to live together, you know, and raise kids and buy a house and, you know, prepare your vacation or just buy your car. And negotiating with somebody who doesn't get it, you know, maybe you're surrounded by an idiot. I don't know. So I think, but then if you're exactly the same, you will have no dynamic in the relationship. If I was only red and my wife was only red, it would be a bit of a bore because that's a task-oriented, really dominant profile. A lot of arguments and probably a lot of shouting as well. I think you should be similar, but maybe exactly not exactly the same. If you, I mean, she's red, which I know, and I have a lot of red in me as well, and then I have a lot of yellow. So acting towards her, I am usually red and yellow, maybe yellow and red, to balance the red parts. Then when she goes too far, or maybe when she, you know, skip all the details, I will go blue. She hates that. She really has. Okay, this doesn't add up because this is not 100%. You know, this is only 97%. What's the rest of it? Details. Forget about the details. We can't. 100% is 100%, not 97. She hates that. Because sometimes I have to. So, but I think you should be a bit like each other, but not exactly the same. This is a tricky question.
Actually,
the best part is when the best relationship is, I think, when you actually talk about how you talk to each other, when you communicate about your communication, which we do, works fine.
No, my wife is green and blue, so we have the same in green, but we're different in. I'm more yellow. I'm yellow and she's blue. So which is like you're saying, it's good. We have some things in common and some things we are different.
Perfect combination.
So
Correct.
interesting, yeah. But like you're saying, being aware of these things and talk about it. So which is for all the listeners, if you buy the book, then it's a great topic of discussion with your partner to go through these things. So, organization.
Self-awareness is key.
Yeah, awareness.
If you have self-awareness, the colors doesn't matter that much, actually.
Yeah. No, next topic I was thinking organizations, because you've done a lot of work with organizations, right? You were doing this as a consultant as well.
Yes.
So what color is the perfect boss?
Well, the perfect manager, I would say, is the person who would like to be a manager. As you see, I changed from boss to manager because boss is, I know we're speaking English now, but boss is a bit, it's easier to think it's bossy, meaning red behavior. The higher up in the hierarchy you go, the more red you will find. Not saying they are the best leaders, but they have the sharpest elbows. They are elbowing themselves up to the top, which is, I think, it's a good leadership. Let's say it's a good leadership. Leader trait to not being too sensitive, to be goal oriented, crystal clear, and a really high standards and demanding things from people so they will deliver 100%. Also, it's good to be yellow because then you can charm people, you can motivate them, you bring in your good mood, and you make everybody feel okay with themselves. You are flattering people, sometimes you are really generous with the positive feedback, which is important. If you are green, you will be a good listener, but you will have trouble with all the conflicts, because usually at working places there will be conflicts, and green people don't like conflicts, so they will feel a lot of I would say stress in the higher up they go in the higher. I'm not saying they are not competent, that's not what I'm saying, but the greens will suffer a little bit from the antagonistic thing, and the strive for power is maybe not their main game. The blue factor, they are usually good at leading, let's say, engineers or IT people, because they are good with details. Maybe they will not stand on the soapbox and shouting and say, "Yay, let's go for the big money! Now we are, conquering the world." That is not the blue person. There you need a red or a yellow one, actually. But depends on who you're leading to, because leaders and managers, they will gain trust from people depending on who the people are. If people are looking for somebody good with details, they will enjoy the blue manager and not the yellow one, because he will forget his papers.
Yeah, you tend to like the people that are similar to you, So
true, also true.
I had a discussion with a friend. He is green, and he's the boss now, or the manager for 80 people approximately. And we were discussing this, and he said, I think the green makes the best bosses, because we actually listen to the people, and But I know he's also very stressed, because there's a lot of pressure, and he had to deal with conflicts and during these times. So that's what you're saying. So
yes, but the problem with, now remember, we are not talking about competence or experience or to be liked. That could be 100% for the green manager. But green people, as they are very conflict avert, they are very likely to say yes to everybody. And as a manager, that's an impossible view of things. If you say yes to him and her, and they will say two different things, what are you going to do? This is not going to work. They won't cope with that kind of situation. And people will demand things from you when you're a manager, and you have to say no. And green people don't like to say no, because it could be offensive, Maybe people don't like me. One bad driver for being a manager is the strive for being liked by your staff. That is not why you should be a manager. That's a bad thing, and that could go for yellow people as well, yellow leaders as well, because they would like to be loved and cherished by everybody, and that is not a good leadership thing, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I recognize myself. I had someone in my team earlier on that was, I believe, blue and red. I think because lots of details in the emails, but still very driven and we always had conflicts, and it was always, and I always got a little bit emotional, like, but so completely the opposite profiles. But yeah,
how did you do it?
It was difficult. It was very difficult, I think it was more difficult for me than for the other person, because I got emotional and that person just moved on,
Yeah, he was task oriented and you weren't, so
Exactly.
that's easy thing to understand.
Yeah. Anyway, I wish I had your books back then, but yeah. I know there's a lot of organizations now in Dubai that had to let go of people, and I know one organization, the senior guy, he had to fire a lot of people, and he's red, and the people that he tend to fire were all like green. So he ends up in an organization with only red people, and that's an organization that I probably wouldn't be happy in. Have you seen the risk of this when it's like only one color in an organization?
Without knowing the details in this certain organization you're referring to, I would say one color in an organization, that's the worst thing that you can actually get yourself into, because everybody will think basically in the same way, if you know what I mean. Okay, everybody are all are individuals and so on and so forth, but when people have the same thinking pattern and the same pattern of acting, you will lose basically most of the dynamic. The red one would say, okay, how about, yeah, we know, we're on it already, bam, bam, bam. No new influences, no new ideas, no different, nobody saying, wait a minute, how about this and how about that? We are forgetting things, If everybody's red, it's going to be short meetings, short staff meetings, really short emails, and the text messages will be, just okay, do it, yep, bye, and very efficient, but no new ideas, a lot of shouting, who's going to be in charge here, a lot of let's say fighting for power, not fist fighting, but arguing, and there might be a lot of challenging behavior there, and I wouldn't recommend it. The same thing with yellow, a lot of talking, not much should be done, because we are visionary thinkers, but we are not necessarily, we are starters but not closers. The green ones, only green people in an organization, that's really bad, because everybody's really polite and who am I to tell you what to do? And blue people, let's put 1,000 IT guys in one room, they will plan themselves into the year of 3,000. It's not going to work, Forget about it. You need the dynamics of different, diversity is key in any teams, and it's not about gender or ethnicity or anything. It's about so many things. One of them is behaviors and personality. You need different people. That is just the case.
Have you worked with any organization that is very well balanced? Let's say if everyone is two colors, let's say you have 8 different color profiles for 8 people, and completely balanced of those 8 different.
Well, not completely, because not everybody is good at everything. I have myself put together many, I don't know how many, management teams with all the colors in them and all the drivers as well. There's different kinds of way of looking at this. But in an organization, you need, when it comes to sales, you will always have more yellow behavior. When it comes to management, you will have more red. When it comes to serving people, customer service, you will have more green, because they like this. When it comes to planning and details and engineering and accounting and whatever, you will have more blue people in. That's just the way it is. But the management team, the best team when it comes to, let's say you put the whole company in one really big room, then you need a good balance. But then again, you can't have all the balance, because green is the most common color. 45% of the population in the industrialized world will have mostly green in their profile. And red is less than 10%. So what are you going to do? It's impossible to have the perfect balance all the time, but you can do the best you can by addressing these topics, I would say. If it's an issue with some people never speaking up, and some people are talking all the time and taking all the oxygen, yellow ones, then you have to discuss these issues at least, and make sure we can have at least a better balance. But perfect is not going to be perfect.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. I also do trainings in cross-cultural communication, working with different countries. different nationalities. And for me, traditionally, if I would just like the values of the country, you would think like the Germans maybe are blue, the Americans are red, maybe the Swedish are green, blue, and the Latin countries are more yellow. Have you seen any different in different countries? Are there more blue people in Germany, or is the 45% green like all over, or is it?
That's a really good question. It's a really good question. It's an interesting question because the answer is yes and no. Let me explain. The thing is this: when you we have a lot of data. This is the American University. Now I don't remember the name, but in 2013 they made an assessment saying about 50 million analysis has been made all over the world the last 40 years using the DISC tool as a basis. So we have plenty of data, and they say in all the countries where the DISC profile is used, I would say 100 nations somewhere around. You can have it in 49 languages, I think. And then you have the same on an individual level. It's basically the same variety of colors, least red, most green, and then you have a little bit more blue than yellow. If you go to the United States, that's just an example, there they are a little bit more extrovert, meaning a little bit more red and yellow than we are here in Europe, where I am speaking from now. Here in the old world, we are a little bit more introvert. You can see the difference, meaning they are a little bit more red and yellow, and we are a little bit more green and blue. But the difference is, we talk about single percentages. It's no big deal, but you can see, you can measure it.
Okay.
When it comes to Germans, I've worked in Germany and say, Ordnung muss sein, right? So they are all blue. Well, they're not, but the culture is blue.
Yeah.
They like to be in time, if you take the metro in Berlin, which I've been doing a couple of times, and the train is 40 seconds late, the whole platform standing like this,
Yeah.
Lighter, that is not good. In Italy, they don't mind. There's a train, let's take it, because they have a different nationality. In Sweden, we have this green blanket on top of everything, meaning we don't like conflicts. We're getting better, but we don't like conflicts. We like to have the same plate every lunch, we sit in the same chair every morning around the breakfast table. And when we get angry, which we get, we will close our fist in the pocket and say, I am good, thank you, because that's the Swedish way to do it. You're Swedish. They wouldn't do that in the States. They would take the discussion, or in France or whatever. So there's cultural differences. But on an individual level, I've done a lot of work in Finland, and there people tend to see Finnish people like really, really introverts, almost, grumpy. But when you get to know them, the yellow Finns, they are the most hilarious people on the planet. They are so funny,
Yeah.
I love them. It's super great. But you have to, get related to them. Then they will open up and be extremely entertaining, actually.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's like another layer on the culture values. Like I saw a Swedish person getting upset that the train is late, but not complaining to the train, just complaining to his friends instead. Like whereas maybe the Americans.
If we go to a really expensive restaurant, let's say when the world is opening up, which we, knock on wood, hope it's going to do sometime soon. But let's say you go to a really good fancy dinner restaurant and you pay a lot, the best wine, and the best, everything is top notch. But you're not satisfied because it's not what you ordered. And then here comes the waiter, and then he'll say, everything in order here, and you'll say, this is perfect. Oh, very good, very good, very good. But the tomatoes were a bit soft, and the sauce was cold, and the wine was actually not good. And something else wasn't. The steak wasn't medium rare. It was well done. But we won't say anything here in Sweden. We will say, it was good. And then we will go out on the pavement and say, we'll never go back here. No, never return. No. But we will give them tip, give them tips.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So after a few years, when we talked colors in Sweden, I came to the biggest bookstore in Dubai called Kinokuniya. And I was looking for a particular psychology book. So I asked the information desk for this book. I said, oh, it's here, but I will also would like to recommend this book. And he showed me your book in English. So the guy, this one, Surrounded by Idiots.
Yes, it's a commercial. Sorry about that.
Exactly. How many languages have you translated it to now?
42, but then that's 2 English languages actually. It's American English and British English.
Oh, okay. So 42. Okay, but it sounds good with 42. So it's
42 is great. Swedish is always one of them. So also one of them.
So that's 43 with Swedish.
Fantastic. I am of course I'm happy. I'm thrilled and fascinated and a bit scared, to be honest. I created a monster. But as I mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, I think it's because people enjoy talking about how we talk and how we interact in our daily communication, even though the book does not cover everything. It's just, I'm just scratching the surface a little bit. Yeah. And people understand this, you know. Everybody doesn't like this, and I get that. But at the same time, we will always be interested in each other and in yourself. Of course, you will learn about yourself and say, oh, this chapter is about me. Yeah. Then you can learn about your brother or your mother-in-law and laugh a little bit towards them. You know, I think that's why. So, and people are the same all over the planet. Yeah, that's really the best news, because I'm receiving emails from from Norway, from Denmark, from Dubai, actually from Armenia this morning, Armenia, New Zealand, India, and everybody is saying the same thing. That's the way it is. Yeah. And I am yellow, and I am rude, and my mother and my brother and everything. So people are struggling with the same thing all over the planet. And that is good news. We are definitely much more alike than we are not like each other. For me, that is fantastic. Yeah. I am really thrilled about this. I have to be honest.
Yeah, like we were saying, that it becomes a discussion point. So my mother, after I read the book, I gave the book to my mother, and she read it as well. And then after that, we had lots of discussions. You know, who in the family is blue, who in the family is red. Who, so it's a great base for discussions. But let's move on to your newest book. So basically, I was in North Ireland on the 10th of March on a conference, and I came back to Dubai. And when I was at the airport in Dublin, actually, all the newspaper was like COVID, Corona, blah, blah, blah. So it started to spread at the time. So I have a conspiracy theory, because the book was released 27th of March, and your book is about dealing with tough times. Or what's it called? Surrounded by, what's the title?
Surrounded by setbacks, maybe.
Yeah, so
when it comes to
of course, I'm just kidding, but the book was quite good timing, because the whole world is experiencing a setback right now, if you put it that.
Yes, I know. Well, I know this is people keep asking me still. That was some really good timing for releasing a book about setbacks and falling rocks during the worst lockdown in history, in human history. This has never taken place before. So people keep asking me, are you a genius, or are you actually an idiot? And I say, well, history will tell. I don't know. But the book is about, everybody's struggling with something. People keep telling me, I've been a public speaker for, 20 years. And as yourself, trying to help people find their motivation, all these things. And some people can, but I can't do this, people say, and I can't do that because I'm a dyslexic, and I am this and that, and my father beat me, my ex-wife, she ran away with my best friend, and I'm still missing him, and my car broke down. But we all have these stories. Everybody has experienced bad times in life. And there's nothing new with this. And I think maybe let's say if it's a universe that is testing us, or whatever your beliefs are, that doesn't matter. We all struggle from time to time. And the book's message is, don't try to get away from it. Don't try to run away from setbacks or failures, because you will suffer. Life is a bit hard, to be honest. And the more prepared you are, the more mentally strong that you are, actually, the better you will get through the tunnel, if you know what I mean. So we have to wrap our heads around the fact that with some people sometimes I feel actually it's more young people than middle-aged like myself who think you can get away from setbacks, that you don't have to have failures in your life. That is just not the case. To be honest, it's not going to happen, you know.
Do you any stories from your own life, like any failures or setbacks that you can share as a lesson for the younger people?
Well, many in the book. There's a long list of bad places I find myself in. The worst ones are really high up there. You know, I lost my mother. I was with her her last hours in life, and that was hard. It was really, really hard. Everybody who has been through that experience know what I'm talking about. But at the same time, you know, career failures. You know, I wrote this. As I mentioned before, I'm an ex-banker. I worked at the Nordics' biggest bank for many years, and then I was, I guess, I was this disgruntled employee who wrote this letter to my manager's manager, and it reached all up to the CEO of the bank. He was many levels above me, and he called me up, you know, and gave me this real, you know, who do you think you are? Ooh, that hurt. That felt in here. I was terrified for months. Am I done here? Am I finished? My career is over. Nothing happened. But that was not smart, you know. Sometimes
Maybe
you have to learn from your mistakes.
Maybe a red person, or
whatever. He was an angry person. And he was the CEO of this super huge bank, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I thinking? I don't know.
Yeah, so setbacks are part of life. And so what are some recommendations for those that are currently having some tough times? What can they do?
I would say it sounds a bit boring, but be realistic. Don't sugarcoat your environment. Don't try to fool yourself and say, no, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. You know, the sun is shining. We have everything. You should be grateful for what you have, you know. I mean, in the current, in the COVID-19 situation, I have people in my family who are in risk groups, and I'm worried about them, of course. But still, I have to keep moving forward. I mean, there's an old saying, sure, pray to some higher authority, whatever your beliefs are. Do the praying, do that. But still, if you're in the middle of the ocean in a small boat, pray for help. But still, you know, try to row yourself to the shore. You can do things yourself also. You don't have to just sit there and wait. Even though you can't do everything yourself, you can do small things. You can do a couple of things, 2, 3, 4 things. And then you're on your own. You're on your way towards something better. I mean, if you try to lose weight or try to, you know, get in shape in any other way, if you try to learn a new language, well, learn a few words, learn 10 words, learn 15 words, and then learn 100 words. You can't expect that you're going to be successful in, you know, 3 weeks or 3 months. It's going to take you, I don't know, 7 years, perhaps.
Yeah.
That is just the way it is. And if you're really impatient, well, it doesn't help. Of course, it's good to have high standards, you know, and strive for really tough goals, career goals or barrier breaking things. Obviously, you need that as well, but you have to accept the fact that things can take some time. The best advice is to accept it's going to take time and be a bit patient. And even though you can't shout at a tree to make it grow quicker, it is what it is. If you have the right goal and you have the right direction, work and work and work towards the goal. It sounds simple. There are no magic, you know, fairies who can help us. You can't trick the system. It is what it is. You know? I believe in visualization. Visualization. That's a hard word. I believe in positive thinking and all these things, but what you know and what you feel and what you can do is useless unless you do something. You have to work for it. That's the way it is. And I think many people forgot about that, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there's a lot of self-help books that are selling the dream, you know, but I like to look at sports athletes. If you look at any elite athlete now, they visualize the perfect game, they visualize themselves winning, but then they train really hard as well, you know. It's not that they just lay on the sofa visualize. Every day is training to get better. But, do you link the colors to the setbacks as well? Like how a red person will deal with the tough times versus a green person?
You can see certain patterns here. Setbacks will stress people rather hard, actually. And red people they are good with setbacks because they don't accept a failure. They would be mad and angry with themselves maybe and work even hard. I mean, the red ones, they work the hardest. That's just the way they can never sit still. They will be, you know, on the job all the time and, you know, do things. And as they are action oriented, they usually achieve something in life. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's something, because they don't sit still. They act, they do stuff. Yellow people are also rather action oriented, so they will sort of row themselves out of the situation, if you know what I mean. You know, using the oars there. So sorry. And the green ones and the blue ones, they are more passive. It's not an evaluation, but they are good at doing repetitive things over time. But when it comes to, you know, maybe boxing yourself out of a certain situation, then you need the action orientation. Then the red ones and the yellow ones will quicker get back on their feet again, I would say. If they have a plan. That is, the blue ones will make up a plan, you know, but maybe they won't deliver on the plan. It's just a plan, you know. You need to be action oriented to get yourself out of the situation. So there the extroverts have a bit of an advantage, I would say.
Okay, yeah. During the COVID crisis here now, a lot of people have been working from home using technology like Zoom and Skype and all these things. And what are your thoughts on the different colors and the home-based office? Like my wife, she's introvert. She loves working from home. She could continue doing it. She doesn't care about the colleagues. But I think the yellows are climbing the walls.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I saw Twitter's founder and CEO said, we're going to close down all the offices because now we have learned we can work from home just as good, but it's wrong. He's terribly wrong. That's a really very big misunderstanding of how people are wired. People are social beings. We are not hermits. We need to interact. Maybe we don't have to sit in each other's laps all the time, but we need each other in order to cope with the situation. That is just the way it is. We are social beings. Blue people are thriving now because now they can finally work in peace. They can take off the headphones, you know, sitting there calmly, quietly, you know, really focused and doing whatever they are doing. So they are enjoying the situation, but everybody else is suffering. That is just the way it is. Especially the people-oriented people, so to speak, which is the yellow ones and the green ones. That's about roughly 70% of the population who are really suffering now. As you mentioned, I have a sister who is painfully yellow. She is suffering tremendously, horribly. She says, oh, I can't deal with the situation anymore. Please get me out of here. Her husband, who is more to the blue side, I'll take it easy, calm down, it's going to be better. But still, isn't it really calm? And can you hear how quiet it is? And she says, yes, I know, I'm getting crazy. Oh, this is really beautiful. Oh, I love it, you know. It is what it is. We need to interact. That is a fact.
My guess would be that...
Sorry, Oscar, for interrupting. But this is, of course, better than a phone conversation or an email. But still, I can't read your full body language. I can't put my hand on you. You know, I can't shake your hand. I can't get to know you in a really good way. We need that in order to feel good about ourselves and the community, actually.
Yeah, I mean, even these interviews, I've done a lot of interviews over Zoom these couple of months. And before, I always did them in person. Of course, I prefer to do them in person. You know, I can see it's a completely different thing. But this is the second best thing, I guess, until we'll get some virtual reality solution. Or so, yeah. But
maybe you can send out your what's it called?
The beaming.
No, your avatar.
Yeah, exactly. Your
Send
avatar.
your avatar out there.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
act as you, and then you go home and download whatever happened. You can take part of it.
Yeah,
Or,
let's
I
see.
don't know.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. Yeah, let's see. No, so the new book is for the Swedish market for now, but I assume you will release it in English as well in the future.
Yes, all my books are coming in English. The next book in English is Surrounded by Psychopaths.
Yeah.
It's going to be released early September, something, both in American and Queen English.
Okay, excellent. And the Surrounded by Idiots, as we said in the beginning of the conversation, is perfect for discussions. So I recommend you to buy it and read it. And for the listeners in Dubai, they have it in Kinokuniya, the bookstore in Dubai Mall. And Thomas, last question. If you had a magic wand and you could teach something to everyone in the world, like you had just a few minutes to teach them, what would you teach them?
Oh, that's a hard one. Well, it would probably be something like, okay, then I would say, view yourself in the mirror more often than you do today. And then I'm not meaning watching yourself in the mirror physically, but take a look at yourself, at your actions and your behaviors and your perception of the world. Take a look at how you interpret people that you meet. Take a look at how they interpret you. Take a close look at what everybody else is thinking about you. And consider, is this the best way I can present myself to the world? Are there some other things that I might do in order to achieve my goals or achieve a good and strong relationship with my friends or my manager or my employees or my wife or my children or whoever it is? Am I really doing the best I can in order to provide the best I can to the society? Then I have to look at myself a little bit more often. That is what I probably would advise people. Take a look at yourself.
Know thyself, huh? Thank you so
Know
much.
thyself.
That's some good advice for the people, listeners around the world. Thank you so much for taking the time, Thomas. Anything else, or leave it at that?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invitation.
Your Instagram account is in English as well now?
Yes, well, Thomas Erikson, writer. That's easy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.